Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I recommend you guys to watch today's video because this video here will help you understand why the fuel prices are rising in India and who you should blame for this situation. But before that, I urge you guys to smash that like button and also hit the subscription button down below. So without wasting time, let's get started. Let's set the premise for the situation here and let's go back a few months. Back in April, the news channels all over the globe were broadcasting this news. Yes, you read it right. The fuel prices in the US dropped to a negative, meaning someone was ready to pay you to take their oil from them, all thanks to the infamous global lockdown. Since then, global crude oil prices have been tanking for a while now, but interestingly, even with all that bad news, fuel prices in India have remained firm. Now that's fishy, and it doesn't make any sense. You must be thinking, this must be a conspiracy. But wait, you see, what they drill out is crude oil, and crude oil isn't the end product. It's an intermediary that requires additional refining. You don't get petrol or diesel right off the bat. You need to pump crude through a processing facility, hoping to turn it into a consumable product. And here, my viewers, lie the complexities and all the tea you've been waiting for. Now, the price of the end product, that is petrol or diesel, can vary depending on the complexity involved in processing crude into its desirable constituents. Okay, consider diesel. It's heavier, less volatile, and easier to refine compared to petrol. As a consequence, diesel tends to be slightly cheaper than petrol in most of the countries around the world. We see the same trend in India, but diesel prices trade at much steeper discount here because of, you guessed it right, tax structure. People use diesel in industries, farmlands, generators, trucks, etc., as opposed to petrol, which is largely used in personal vehicles. So the government doesn't tax diesel at much, and as a consequence, diesel has always been more affordable. But that trend seems to be reversing. On June 24th, for the first time in living memory, diesel was sold at a higher price than petrol. Bear in mind, this only happened in Delhi, but it was still a sight to behold. But before we get into this bit and explore the price differential here, we need more context. So let's start with the oil marketing companies, OMC, entities largely responsible for processing, refining and selling auto fuel. Think Indian Oil Corporation Limited. The nationwide lockdown has taken a toll on these people. Petrol consumption dived 60% in April, diesel sales plummeted 55%. But still, we didn't observe cost decreasing. But why? You see, these companies still had to keep shipping crude oil, pay salaries, run their factories, and spend money even when there aren't enough consumers buying fuel. But the OMC were smart. They saw this predicament coming. They could see that crude oil prices were trending downwards and they wanted to keep their margins intact. So they stopped revising their prices after March 16th. In this process, however, consumers were left hanging. Despite crude oil prices breaching $0 back in April, Indian customers did not get to buy fuel at lower prices. We did not get to benefit one bit. On the flip side, the central government saw an opportunity to make some money here. They saw that the OMC were stalling prices and hence threw a curveball to them by increasing taxes on oil. After all, tax collection were abysmal that month. The government was already borrowing too much and they were desperately looking to fund their expenditure through any means necessary. All they had to do was go in and increase the excise on petrol and diesel. Now, excise isn't like your ordinary tax. The consumers don't get to pay it. Instead, it's a duty imposed on the producers and the sellers. And when the government increased excise on petrol and diesel back in May, the OMC had to make a choice: bear the excise duty themselves or pass it on to consumers. Now, ideally, you'd think they would just pass it on by hiking prices, but they didn't do that. You see, these guys are smart, because if they did so, that would have wreaked havoc across the board. After all government increased excise by a record rupees 10 per litre on petrol and rupees 13 per litre on diesel, planning to raise 1.6 lakh crore additional revenue. Imagine seeing retail prices increase by this much overnight. Yeah, it's not a nice look. So now the OMC stood tall and refused to revise prices. They took a hit on their margins and they made peace with it. After all, these companies are primarily owned by the central government, so they couldn't increase the prices even if they wanted to. Also, did you guys notice those numbers? Rupees 10 per litre on petrol, rupees 13 per litre on diesel. Do you see how the revised excise on diesel is much higher than the excise on petrol? Yeah, that's been happening for a while now, and slowly but surely, diesel prices have been inching upwards. It's the tax structure that's reducing the price differential between petrol and diesel, and now you know why. But we are not done yet. Remember, state governments also have to make some money off selling petrol and diesel. And once again, we see that most state governments have chosen to increase taxes on petrol and diesel to shore up revenue these past couple months. Now, unlike excise, this tax, that is VAT, is borne by the end consumer, meaning state government taxes are to be paid by us. So if you saw fuel prices increase at your next door petrol station anytime between March 16th and June 6th, it's probably because your state government chose to ramp up taxes. And why such specific dates, if you ask? Well, that's when the OMC finally decided to start revising prices once again. By then, crude oil prices had started firming up, but oil producing nations had cut output, and hence as a result, OMC started buying crude at higher prices. And now, their profit margins evaporated quickly. Soon, they were selling petrol and diesel below cost. They were making a loss on each unit sold. So they had no choice but to start revising prices. And as crude prices started inching upwards, OMC started pricing their products higher in response for this problem. And truth be told, they'll probably keep doing this until they can turn a profit on every liter of fuel sold. Now, obviously, you could debate if there's anyone else to blame here and if the government should roll back the tax hikes. After all, the tax component on fuel can be high as 70%. But in doing so, you have to first understand how we got here and why we got here in the first place. It's incumbent on you to premise your argument after fully understanding the mechanics of pricing fuel. So if you've had a friend or a family member engage in a passionate discussion about petrol and diesel prices this week, link them this video and we'll have that discussion and then a debate here. It'll be a more fulfilling discussion here. So with that, we have come to the end of this video. Like the video, share the video, and hit the subscription button. And if you like our content and want similar issues to be explained, I'll come up with more videos for you guys to watch. Until next time, bye.